Are the changes I'm making improving the manuscript, or am I just making it different? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara East. I'm a writer, blogger, YouTuber, and the author of the mystery novel Every Time He Dies. And in today's video, I want to share some recent thoughts I've had about the revision process. So for the past month and for the next 2 months to come, I have been deep into the revision process with my latest manuscript. Right now, I'm doing the final big independent revision of the work. Now in the future, I might actually go on to work with an editor, but for right now, it's just me doing this final polish. Just as it was with Every Time He Dies, this particular step involves a multitude of mini steps. Over the course of the next few months, I'm going to be checking for consistency, tone, voice, characterization, and pace. I'll be making sure that the theme is subtly underscored throughout the whole manuscript, and any instances where it's a little bit too on the nose, I'll make sure that I remove them. I'll of course also be checking for grammar and sentence structure as well as punctuation, and of course I'll be looking for typos, but like a bursted beanbag, picking up every single one of those little beans, every single one of those little typos is kind of impossible. This stage of writing is by far my favorite stage, because I've made all of the decisions. I've figured everything out. Haha. And now all I have to do is perfect the story instead of figure out the story. Now that the story is done, I just have to make tiny little steps, small little changes that will slowly morph this manuscript into a version of the story that is more similar to the one in my head. Now this process is pretty slow, but it's by far my favorite part of the writing process, maybe beyond brainstorming. Unlike drafting, I'm not creating from nothing, but instead I'm bettering what I already have. Now I get to play around with words. Did he slump into the chair or did he collapse into it? Did her eyes narrow or did she look away to avoid their gaze? I really adore this phase of writing because it allows for that nitpicking, that deep thinking and toying around and noodling around with language. However, it is important to check yourself here. It's really easy during this revision process to get really down into the weeds and to really overanalyze every single sentence and to reword every sentence a million different ways. And something you need to think about is, are the changes I'm making improving the manuscript, or am I just making it different? Time and space are two of the greatest luxuries for any writer, and there are a few things quite as precious as knowing you have nowhere to be, nothing urgent that needs to be done, and more importantly, that you won't be interrupted. Thank the muse for closed doors and noise-canceling headphones. Because for me, the revision stage is the most insular and deeply internal part of writing. Now, I don't want to fall into the business of romanticizing the craft, but the best part of writing is when the boundaries between the work and your own life begin to kind of blur. Maybe a friend raises a topic that your characters were just discussing, or maybe you're reading a book and this obscure word is used and you just used it too. Better yet is when you're working on a scene that just isn't working, and then your ordinary life presents you with a solution. Maybe the love interest realizes something is wrong when the dog doesn't greet them at the door. Maybe the protagonist couldn't answer the dinner host's questions because she laughed so hard she wet herself and she had to excuse herself from the table. This did not happen to me. One of the fundamental principles of a writing routine is to have a goal and a way to measure the success of that writing session. So for some people, that's measuring time spent, 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours, or it might be a word goal, 500 words. While the pace at which I write is pretty predictable, I know I can do 1,000 words in an hour, revision is not predictable. During the revision stage, at least for me, I focus on time spent rather than words revised. But lately, I've been thinking about even tweaking this method. This change came about after listening to a recent episode of the Secret Library podcast with guest Sarah Selecki. Selecki shared that in 2020, she decided to shift the way she measures the success of a writing session. Instead of focusing on time spent or words produced, she measures her success on whether or not she got into a flow state. Her writing session was successful if she wasn't distracted, if she wasn't checking social media, email, texting a friend, looking up websites. Her session was successful if she was able to get deeply focused and give all of her attention to the work. And it didn't matter if that was for 20 minutes or if she wrote 100 words. That is how she was measuring the success of her writing sessions. Recently, I joined a private writing group for academics who are interested in wellness. And each month we focus on a particular topic, and last month we focused on the sense of timelessness. We all know that 5 minutes spent in a corporate meeting feels totally different to 5 minutes chatting with your best friend, reading a book, or watching a sunrise. Chronos time is the time that governs clocks. Kairos is the sensation of timelessness. Kairos is a 3-hour concert that feels like 10 minutes. Chronos is mowing the lawn at noon with a piece of glass stuck in your foot and you're covered in flies. You are hyper aware of every single moment. Kairos is entering a flow state. It is a sense of timelessness. Now, this may sound like a little bit of a contradiction, but in continuing my revisions, I hope to experience both Kairos and Chronos time. I will be setting a timer because we live in a Chronos world and other things have to get done, but within the container of this set time, I hope to slip into Kairos, into that sense of timelessness and that flow state. Now, I'm naturally a pretty quick worker. I like to get things done, get my gold star, and move on to the next task. Working in this way can be really great for some tasks, but in the revising of my novel, I really want to experiment and to experience a greater stretching of time. I really want to be awake to the process rather than focusing on the finishing line, and generally, I just kind of want to enjoy myself a little bit more. I never stopped having fun with writing, but I really want to go deeper into the process, and I really want to see what's skating around in that starry infinity of Kairos, because I suspect she has some damn fine stories to tell. That's all I have for you this week, guys. Just some little thoughts on the revision process. If this video sparked any thoughts of your own, please leave your comments below, because I'd love to hear all about it. If you'd like even more writing advice, you can head to my website, taraeast.com. There are over 150 blogs on the website, or of course, you can troll through all my videos on this YouTube channel. If you go to the website, please consider joining my email newsletter. I'll send you a free gift when you do, called the Follow Through Formula, and you'll receive weekly little emails from me containing links to that week's blog and video and a whole bunch of other things that I only share via email. I hope you have a really good week, that you read everything, and that you get a lot of writing done, because the world actually does need more books. I'll see you again next week.